Okay, welcome to the Hudson Valley 360 Gridiron Glance Week 3 show. This week we have longtime coach Mike Bowman, Connor Kills. You're coaching for 4 decades, 80s, 90s, 2000s, 2010s.
Wow, yeah, I'll tell you what, it's been, actually, I started when I graduated from college in 69. So it's been 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s, 2000, 2010.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah, it's been a while.
A lot of success in that time, too. But you started at Fox Lane.
I did. I graduated from college, and my first job was at Fox Lane, where I was phys ed teacher, driver ed teacher, assistant coach. I actually was the head freshman coach. It was a big school in Westchester County. They had a freshman team, a JV team, and a varsity team, much like some of the bigger schools in like Shenandoah, and then they have Actually, they have a freshman A and B, and then a JV, and then a varsity, So I had the freshman, the JV, then went assistant coach of the varsity, and they didn't really have a successful program there until Vinny Ivino became the head coach and brought in the old wing T, and that's where I really mentored from him and settled on that. As if I ever got anywhere, that would always be my offense to run.
Absolutely.
And in 1978, we won the championship, and like before we went on the air, I was telling you we're going to be meeting next Thursday, the 21st, in New York City for a little mini reunion with that team and Vinny and our athletic director, Rod Mergard.
Now, 1986, you came to Taconic Hills. You coached the JV for 1 year, moved up to the varsity at 87, went 4-4 that first year. The very first time Taconic Hills didn't have a losing season since the merger between Rojan and Akawame. Then the very next year, 88, you ran the table, 11-0, won the state Class C championship.
Yeah, that was great.
Tell me, how did you achieve so much success so fast?
When I got the job, I mean, I looked at it and I said, "My gosh, they haven't had a winning season since 1973." I said, "Wow."
Did that make you think
I can't do any bad here, for sure, So I told the athletic director at the time, because it was a late hire, I said, "Listen, I'd rather run the JV program and instill everything that I want to put in, offense and defense, and then the next year come up with those kids and be the head coach." So they had an interim head coach at that time, the first year that I was there.
Cool.
And, we practiced over there at Rojan, the field there. And so then the next year I became the head coach. And the last game of the season, we were ready to play Averill Park. We were 4-4, and all of a sudden we had that freak storm, the ice storm
of 87.
We didn't have school for a week. The game got canceled. Over. We ended up 4-4. I said, "Oh my gosh, we couldn't play." I said, 5-4, we could have, had a winning season.
So you predict you would have won that last game?
Yes, of course. But we were on a roll at that time, and it just carried over until the next year. Okay, because then it was really our turn, and the kids were baited, and they were just really terribly hungry.
Right.
And the first couple games was fairly close. We played Lansingburg in a close game, LaSalle in a close game. And back then, we played Lansingburg, LaSalle. we played some pretty big schools.
Class B schools, much bigger than Taconic Hills.
And LaSalle is a school. So... and we just, like the old cliche goes, a rolling stone catches no moss. It started rolling. And it rolled and rolled and rolled. And then all of a sudden we were faced with, going undefeated in a regular season and now playing undefeated, complete, always Southern Division champion Hudson.
Great game.
For, all the marbles to go on to the sectionals. And... I know I've had a lot of successes in my life with great big games, but the Hudson Taconic Hills game of 1988 will always stick in my mind as the number one game. Always. I know we played.
That's saying something.
We played Mechanicville for the championship. We played Walton and beat them for the championship. But the Hudson game was the game. I mean,
packed house.
Oh my Lord! I'll tell you. I saw some of your articles about some of the remembrances because they're gonna say goodbye to the field in a couple of weeks.
Sure.
And you were looking for memories, and of course, I remember that game. And I think somebody else tweeted in that there was a packed house at another game that was there, and I'm sure there was, but I can't possibly imagine any crowd that was like that Taconic Hills Hudson game. I mean, they were just waiting for a time when both of those teams could be undefeated, which never happened before.
Right.
And they were, county rivals to boot. Not like Hudson Albany Academy. Okay?
So much
I mean, this is Hudson Taconic Hills.
Right.
I mean. So it was like immense, and for Taconic Hills, they had never ever played in a game like that ever, and I'll never forget it because we practiced at Aquawamic before the game, and it was dark, and we just had an illuminated sign out in front of the school, and we practiced in the parking lot to warm up and everything else like that. And I'm looking at the clock, and it's like 6:30. The game's at 7, and I'm saying, "Well, geez, maybe we should go." And we had a police escort.
I remember that.
We had a police escort taking us to the game.
I do remember that.
And I said, "Okay, 6:45, we get on the bus." And all the parents, I said, well, geez, Taconic Hills, they're afraid. They're not even showing up for the game. I mean, they're not even here yet.
That's what Hudson folks were hoping.
Yeah, and Hudson was already warmed up and everything else like that.
Yeah.
And I had it all planned out what we were going to do. And I told the kids, I said, listen, when we get off of that bus, I says, we're going to go filing right down the sideline.
Yes, you did.
Okay, in front of Hudson. We're going to take a left at midfield. Everybody else is going to go over on the bench, and the kickoff or the kickoff return team is going to line up on the field, getting ready for the kickoff.
I remember that very well. I was on the field before that game. I had the pleasure of being there to cover the game.
Yeah.
And I remember that, and your team coming in with a police escort.
Yeah.
It was awesome.
I'll tell you, I told the bus driver, and I'll tell you, I'll never forget it, because going over in that bus, there was quiet. There was not a peep, and you could just almost hear the breathing and the electricity in the air. I think if you struck a match, I think the whole place would have blown up. And I told the bus driver, I said, my God, I said, when you stop this bus, the only thing, please, you have to do is make sure you get that door open as fast as you possibly can, because boy, they took off out of there like a shot.
Yep.
And the Perry brothers, we knew that those were the guys we had to stop.
That's
and we practiced all week on. And I remember Jay Molino, he was a beast. And I saw that Leamy, because I had scouted them every single game. I had them backwards and forwards.
Sure.
I knew exactly what they were going to do, every single play, every formation, everything. And I saw that Molino would always go to the tight end, the strong side, always. And we used to like to run to the tight end side.
Sure.
So for that game that week, we practiced a split end attack, and I put my wing to the tight end, and then I put him in motion going towards the split end, and hand him the ball, and we pulled the two guards, and we ran to the split side, killed him.
Remember this like yesterday.
Molino didn't even make a tackle. We didn't even let him make a tackle. We didn't even run to him.
It's almost like you had the perfect game plan cooked up to beat Hudson.
Everything worked perfectly in that game. Really, it really did. I mean, Canetto was great. It was our quarterback. You talk about players. I mean, he was a tremendous all-around player. Really agile. Ran the offense well. Chris Beneke and Rizzo were our linebackers. Kevin Rizzo, yeah. And of course, we had Tom Saunders, R.J. Scott, and Decker.
Greg Decker.
Greg Decker, yep. Number 34 is our running backs. And
we can't leave out Malcolm Van Alstyne.
Oh, we can't make out, for sure, Malcolm. He's still our all-time leader in sacks. And Scott Green was our best, offensive pulling guard. And Kevin Meisenbacher, who is, with Key Bank now, he was our split end. I mean, I still see a lot of those guys. We stay in touch, and it's really hard to believe that next year will be 30 years, 2018.
30 years. How can it be? Wow.
I just can't believe it, But that Hudson game was great. Then after that was just gravy. I mean, we beat Mechanicville in a real frozen snowstorm game.
I recall.
And then we went on. the Carrier Dome, they messed up the schedule or something happened. I don't know what it was, but at the last minute, they had to move our game from the Carrier Dome to Cornell. And so we had to go to Cornell to play Walton in their backyard.
Right.
And they were the defending state champions. They had the longest winning streak in the state, and nobody ever thought that we would have a chance against them.
I love that offense they ran to. So much misdirection.
Oh, it was crazy.
It was every which way.
And I never got a chance to see him. I went down to Delhi and I tried to, ask for help, and the guys go, I'm not helping you. I said, if they ever find out that I helped you guys beat them, I said, they'd kill me the next year.
Sure.
All of a sudden, at first day of practice, I see this guy coming over to our practice field, and we practiced at Aquawamic because it was so dark by the time we got over to Rojan from the bus. I mean, we wouldn't have any time to practice. Right. So, and this was like in November. So, I mean, geez, we played like at Thanksgiving. So we're at practice at Aquawamic. All of a sudden, this guy comes walking to the field, and he goes, Coach Bowman? I go, yeah, right here. He goes, here you go. He handed me a tape on Walton.
Oh, there you go.
And
sportsmanship.
I have no idea where he came from. I have no idea. He wouldn't say. He just goes, here you go.
Did that help you out, though?
Oh, yeah, immensely. Immensely. Because I had heard that they ran this crazy offense, which is actually like single wing back in the day, because Hoover's father ran that.
Yeah, Jim Hoover.
Yeah, way back in when. And they ran the old-fashioned seven-diamond defense. Seven-diamond. One middle linebacker, two corners, and a safety. It looked like a diamond. And they had 7 guys across the line pinching in, and they just came full force.
Full force.
They didn't care about anything. They were just a human wrecking squad.
Coming right at you.
So I'm looking at the tape, and I'm saying, oh, my God, have you ever played dominoes? We don't need to pull anybody, because we used to pull everybody because our sweep we were famous for our sweep, know. And I said, oh, my God, all the wing has to do is block down on the end. Everybody blocks down, and it's going to be like this. I said, and that's what we did. And we just smoked them. We swept them. I mean, Tommy Saunders had the game of his life. I mean, we just ran outside of them all day long. And they couldn't really stop us. And then there were so many things in that game that happened. We scored first. Kelly Taylor, who's his son plays for Chatham, the quarterback. Sure. Kelly was our tight end and our kicker.
That's right.
On our 88 team.
Number 44, if I recall correctly.
84.
84.
Scott was 44.
That's right. You got it.
So Kelly, and Kelly's, I think it's Caleb Taylor, I think.
Caleb Taylor,
he's the quarterback.
Number 8, that I know.
Yeah, and he's quarterback for Chatham now. I'm saying, oh, gosh, I wouldn't give up coaching if your son was a quarterback at Taconic Hills still, Kelly, I told him that last year when we played him at home. I saw him and talked to him, and I talked to his son. But anyway, long story short, he misses the extra point. So we're losing 6-0, or we're winning 6-0.
Yeah.
And then Walton comes back, and they had good field position. They ran off a couple of really good runs. We missed them, and so they scored at 7-6, and we're losing. Okay, right. So we have about, I don't know, less than a minute to go. We're driving down the field. We didn't have really, it was 4th down and about 6 to go. And I said, okay, Kelly, redeem yourself for the next point. Go kick a field goal. He kicks a field goal. We're up 9-6 at halftime. Or 9-7 at halftime, whatever it was. And so I just, it was the first field goal he's ever kicked in his life. So, I mean, that really set us off, and then we scored one more time in the second half, and that was it.
That was that.
And we were
State
fortunate
champs.
because Byram Hills, who was we were ranked number 3 at the time. Byram Hills elected not to play in the first championship series games because they were invited to go, and they didn't play. So the third place team, us, played Walton.
Yes.
And so they were upset when we leapfrogged Byram Hills to the number 1 team in the state
and
after we beat Walton.
To prove it.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
And you were state coach of the year.
Yeah, state champions, and that was great. And then what a lot of people don't realize is in '89 we went back and we went to the Carrier Dome.
I remember that.
We had our win streak snapped by LaSalle.
Saranac Lake?
Saranac Lake. We had our win streak snapped by LaSalle that year, so we had lost one game. But we won our division, we won the sectionals, we beat Fonda in the sectionals, and we went back to the Carrier Dome, and Saranac Lake had the team of all teams. It was like our 88 team. They had a team like you could never imagine. And their monster man, that was everything, went on to be captain at Syracuse's team. His name was Cy Ellsworth. And this guy was our defensive and offensive tackle. I'll never forget that game. We were losing a little bit. We were losing in the game, and we called a counter crisscross, which is a double handoff on the wing tee, and it was gone. Ian Caldwell and Eddie Rose and had to make the handoff. And on the film, there was nobody there. We had them completely faked out with the sweep coming this way, and then the handoff going back. And Cy Ellsworth got his hand in there, just got his hand in when we were ready to hand the ball off, and we fumbled. They recovered it, took it in for a touchdown, and we couldn't make up the difference. But those are all classic, great games. It was well, and then in '90 we lost one and tied one. We had we had the Foster kid, and we had a great team that year. Donnie Foster. I mean, we had a great team with Mike Birch's son, Mike Jr. and we had a great team that year. We lost one game, and that year they had a wild card bowl game for the runner up in the sections, and we played Greenwich in that, and we won that game. So I mean, we had a run there for quite a while of some really really good teams and good players.
Talk about some of the great players you've had aside from the '88 team. Obviously.
Oh, geez. Well, Ronnie Wood came over to our school in '89.
Quarterback, from Hudson.
And we moved Caneto to a halfback spot. And we were deadly then. That was a big help. But I mean, I'm going to miss out on so many good players that we had just sitting here talking about some of them.
Just name dropping.
The Birch boys were great. Chris and Mike, and his father. Of course, he's notorious for his exploits at Rensselaer.
One of the all-time greats.
I still see him at some of the car shows. And he's the best.
Mike's a guy.
He's a good guy, and we had a great following by a lot of great parents that helped out and really supported us over those years. But we had a lot of good players, like we said. Malcolm Van Alstyne, he's now a U.S. Marshal. Very successful. Tommy, that whole bunch. Going some of the later teams in the 90s, Brian Van Tassel was one of my fullbacks. He's now our modified coach. He's a math teacher at our school, and Josh Piper was our quarterback. And we had a really lot of really nice good players. And,
it was a great run.
And good kids.
Great run.
It was fun. It was fun. Yeah.
Now you had the wing tee you got from Fox Lane. Where did you get your defense from? The 5'2" Oklahoma.
Yeah, the 5'2". I had got. See, our first coach when I got to Fox Lane in the early '70s was Rich Palladino, and he gave me the defense. And when Vinny came, we played a variety of that type of defense too. Okay, it was popular back then. More popular. I tweaked it a little bit, and because some of the more wide open offenses that we got now with the double slot receivers and everything like that, we made a rover, which was a walk away end to the split side. Okay, that really took away the slant and to the flat to that area, and we had a crash end on the other side. So it's actually a 5-man line, but it looked like a 4-man line. So it looked like a 4-2-5 almost. Okay, which was what a lot of teams are playing now.
Absolutely.
The basis for all those, the defense, the angle and the stack, and the blitzes, the Mike and the Hawk calls and everything else, the Mike linebacker and the Hawk linebacker, came from Richie Palladino. And he went from Fox Lane to Scarsdale. And he was very successful, and he coached at Fordham after that. And I still see him and talk to him once in a while too. So, and I used to talk to Vinny all the time if I had a question on the offense, and then I would call Richie and I would talk to him about the defense.
Sure.
You know, he says, "Well, what should I do about this
Great
formation
resources.
when they're in this?" You know, and he would say, "Well, boys, you know, really should probably do something like that." So I would do that, and so I mean, I confided in them. I wasn't, you know, ignorant enough not to call on my old mentors for help. You know,
right.
so that's it. And I mean, I talked to Mark Anderson, the new coach. I mean, he's been my assistant for 10 years. Started off with the first modified team that I hired him as our modified coach, and he's coached the JV, and he was with me on the varsity. And it was his turn. He's really good. He's savvy into everything. He knows what he's doing. He was our defensive coordinator that ran our defense, and he still runs the same defense. And he's tweaked the offense some. They go more to more of an open offense with 2 split ends and 2 slots, but you know, some of the old terminology and everything is still there, but you know, which is fine. I mean,
that's what I always marveled about your coaching. You always knew who to put in the right spots. Like you say,
Vinny said the same thing.
Canetto, from quarterback to halfback. You'd move a guy from tight end, maybe to offensive tackle. You just knew.
Well, I was
who to
lucky,
put
I
where.
guess. I did. Yeah, Vinny always said I had a knack of doing that too. Vinny Ivino. I mean, so I guess, you know, I lucked out in a lot of respects though too. You know, and they weren't all.
It wasn't just luck.
They weren't all great calls though either. Though.
Well,
You think being a teacher, being around the kids all year, you see how they grow, you see what they can do in gym class, that helps you being able to move them around.
There is absolutely no question about that. I know, unfortunately, times have changed. I mean, I can't even begin to tell you how many non-teachers coach at our school. I mean, Angela Webster is our field hockey coach. She's there, and I think one of her assistants is there. Head coach now is Tom Super, and it was Chris Brewster, and they weren't teachers at our school.
Sure.
Our whole football staff was last year was, except for Josh Piper, who was the teacher's aide, he was the modified coach. All the rest of the 5 guys were all non-teachers. They would come in for practice.
Sure.
Baseball coach Frank Clegg, not a teacher. I mean, it's just like you would never even hear of such a thing back in the day. I mean, you were a phys ed teacher, you were a coach. That's how it was. Now it's like doesn't happen that way anymore. You know. And, you know, coaching is difficult because now you have to have CPR, first aid, AED training. For football, you have to have a concussion training thing.
A lot goes into it.
Then you have to go to coaching 1, 2, and 3 before you get a permanent coaching certificate. And, you know, a volunteer assistant just can't walk on the field and say, "Hey, Bo," I says, "I'm here to help you today." I said, "Well, I would like you to, but to be honest with you, you can't be on the field." And it's really disheartening to be able to tell somebody that really wants to help out that you can't.
That had otherwise would probably make a great coach.
Yeah. And Craig Phillips, one of my old time buddies at Fort Plain there. I mean, he's won so many baseball championships. It's incredible. Yeah, he's still there. But he's the one, and it's public knowledge, he's the one that there's no more volunteer assistants anymore. He had a kid come back from college and, you know, asked if he could throw some batting practice, you know, during baseball for his old coach, his old team.
For sure.
And Craig said, "Yeah, sure." So he's throwing batting practice, and he threw a pitch, and the ball came back off the bat and banged him in the head.
Wow.
Knocked him out. They had to take him to the hospital. He had severe concussion, and all sorts of things happened to him.
That's not good.
And they were faced with a huge lawsuit, and that's how the rule came in that you have to be. You cannot have anybody like that that's not certified on the field to help coach or batting practice or anything. So that's the end of that. You know, but it's probably a long term. It was coming anyway. You know, so. But yeah, it's tough. It's tough getting people to coach. But I mean, for sure, it's an asset if you are teaching in the school district and seeing the kids every day, and you're right there, so you know who's in school, any disciplinary things that occur, so you're not into a big shock when you come after school and they say, oh, where's Joey today? So, oh, he's not in school today. Where's Joey today? Oh, he got in trouble. He's in ISS. He can't practice. So, I mean, it definitely helps if you're a teacher in a school.
No question.
Yeah.
No, what a lot of people don't know about the coach is you're huge into Boy Scouts. You're big into the car shows.
Yeah,
you were a driver's ed teacher for I think 40 plus years.
Yeah, yeah.
You've written a book.
Yeah. Spirit of Whiteface. Yeah, I actually just
Renaissance man.
I've given so many books away that I haven't sold that many that I just actually I bought another dozen to probably give away to people. So it's been fun. It keeps me going.
Definitely.
Scouting was always in my career when I was young. I was an Eagle Scout, and as I got older, when I first moved here, I saw this old timer in the Claverick Food Market, and I said, geez, you're in Boy Scouts, because he was either carrying something or he had some type of a distinguished insignia on his shirt or something else like that. He goes, his name was Bill Armstrong, and he's a long time, with Troop 102 in Hudson,
Sure.
And he was the one that got me started back into scouting after I was here, and I took over our Claverick Troop 121. And my son's an Eagle, Sevy, and I had 4 Eagles this last year, 4 of them.
Quite a life this man.
Yeah, I know. It's anything we don't know about.
Flattery will get you everywhere.
That's all true.
Is there anything anybody would be surprised to know about you besides?
Well, I can't tell about that on the air. But, no, most of my friends know pretty much all about me. It's it's been a good life. I have a very understanding wife, that's for sure. It hasn't been really easy on her, but. The car shows, oh my gosh, I love my car. I have a 1957 Ford that's just absolutely gorgeous. Yeah. Have you ever seen that one?
I have.
Have you? Oh, jeez. And I'm going to a car show in Poughkeepsie this weekend. So, yeah, it's enjoyable going to those things, Yeah.
All right, so let's dive into a bit of the games coming up this week. We have our main game, 2 home teams. Or 2 area teams, anyways. Kentucky Athens is playing at the Kind of Kills.
Well, for sure, somebody's going to have to win. They're both. They both have not won, and they have 2 new coaches. So somebody's going to get their first win. And obviously, I'm a little prejudiced. I certainly hope it's Mark and the Titans. That's for darn sure. I'm going to go to the game. I've kind of stayed away. I don't want to be the guy that's always at practice, always hanging around. All the kids will say, "Oh, well, Bo's just hanging around, looking over his shoulder all the time."
Sure.
I didn't want to be like that, so I really have kind of been. A little bit, but I see the kids in school because I run the pool and the fitness center at the school, so I'm there a lot, and I substitute teach. So I see the kids, and say, "How you doing? Is everything okay? How's everything going?" "Yeah, good." So just keep plugging away. I always give them some encouragement, and so this will be the first time that I've actually seen them play. Mark gives me the tapes, and I look at them, and I touch base with them during the week about this, that, and the other thing.
Absolutely.
So
still coaching.
So I'll be there on Friday night, and hopefully it'll be good. I know Coxsackie can put points on the board.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Their defense, a little skeptic, but the quarterback throws the ball over the lot. They have 2 really good receivers, number 6 and number 2. So they say the best pass defense is a rushing line. So hopefully we can put
pressure on
the quarterback and not give him all the time in the world to throw, because if you give him time to throw, he could be dangerous. Okay, their defense, they've changed their defense. They used to play a 3-3 stack defense, which for my wing T offense was always the worst one to be able to try to run against.
Sure.
I hated that, and Chatham used to play it too, but with some of the more wide open offenses now, the people are getting away from the 3-3 and they're going to the 4-2-5. But Coxsackie plays a 4-4. Really, to be honest with you, there's nothing to write home about. But they have some good personnel there. But I think it's going to be a game, Taconic Hills started off with Watervliet and Stillwater.
Right.
I mean, they haven't even come close to losing a game. Those two teams.
No.
Yeah.
And Stillwater, let me tell you, you're going to.
Very good team.
Yeah, they're tough. I mean, so I think, nothing against Coxsackie, but they certainly aren't a Watervliet or Stillwater. So I think, it'll be a good, solid game.
Should be a good game.
Now, a couple guys on each team. We have Coxsackie, has Constantino. He said he's over 500 yards now passing, right, in 2 games.
Is he the quarterback?
He's quarterback.
Yeah, that kid, I watched the film. He can wing it.
7 touchdown passes. He's also caught a touchdown pass.
Right.
Justice Middaugh has 7
Is that number 6?
Scored. Yes.
Yeah,
great athlete.
Those
great
two
wrestler.
stood out.
Very good athlete.
Those two stood out when I saw
Rank in the top 2 in Section 2.
In Section 2.
With touchdowns.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So they know what they got to do to stop them. That's for sure, because that's what they're going to try to do. Whatever works best for them, that's what they're going to do. They're not going to say, okay, all of a sudden we're going to run the ball.
Right. Now Hudson also has had 2 tough games, really tough games to start out with. They're 0-2, looking for their first win at Ravenna, 7 o'clock Friday.
Personally, I think the 2 toughest teams, other than Hudson, of course, in Class B this year, in Schuylerville and Glens Falls. Last week, Hudson lost to Schuylerville, 44-26, but they absolutely moved the ball much better than they did in the first game against Glens Falls. Willie Walker couldn't play that game against Schuylerville because he was rejected late in the game against Glens Falls, but Zach Wilburn came on like gangbusters and really stepped up. He had a great game, 168 yards rushing, 87-yard kickoff return for a touchdown. He caught 3 passes and even played some quarterback, completed 4 passes for 56 yards and a score. So he really stepped up. But he's going to need to step up again, even though Willie Walker is back, which presents an interesting situation for Coach John Davey.
Well, I'll tell you, if he had a 2-dimensional team like he's going to have with Walker and what's his name there? Wilburn?
Yes.
If he had that during Glens Falls, it would be a different story, I think, because Glens Falls is very well coached. Defensively, they knew one thing they have to do: stop Willie Walker, and they stopped him. He didn't gain anything.
34 yards.
34 yards. I mean,
well below
that's got to be his lowest ever in the history of his, rushing career. And he was obviously frustrated. And so this year with a dual threat, it's not just a one-dimensional team. And I think Hudson is going to be really much better. But I'll tell you, that division that they're in is a black and blue division.
It is.
I mean, now they play Ravenna. I mean, they're no slouch either.
No breathers.
1-1.
And they're well coached. I mean, they lost one game, and that's to a double A school. South Glens Falls. So, and then Lansingburg, and you got Shelmont yet. I mean, my lord! I mean, that's a tough division.
Coach, I'm going to go out on a limb here. I'm going to say they're going to win the next 6 games in a row, including a playoff game, then run into Glens Falls or Schuylerville once again, and anything can happen at that point.
I'll tell you what, Glens Falls is still a primo.
Glens Falls is
somebody's going to have to beat them before. I don't know how many they've won in a row now. I mean, they were undefeated all last year, so there was 13 right there. I don't know if they must have lost. They must have lost before that, one of the last games there. So they've 13 plus 2 more, so they've won 15 in a row.
Sure.
So you're going to have to go some to beat that team.
Just don't
give a shot
sleep on Hudson. You hear me? Don't do it.
Oh, I got you. They're explosive. I mean, it's like blitzkrieg, They can score on any play, especially with those 2 talented guys, back in the arsenal now. I mean, either one of those can be dangerous. So, I look for Hudson to rebound, and I think Ravenna will give them a good fight, but I think Hudson by 2 touchdowns.
I'll go with that.
24-12.
Okay.
There it is. Now we also have Tamarack at Chatham. Chatham is coming off a big win, 80-6.
Okay. I had Chatham pegged as them and Watervliet as the 2 top teams in our division after last year going in. And actually, I gave Chatham the edge after I found out that Watervliet's premier running back left and went to private school. So, I mean, geez, that kid was amazing. And I think if Watervliet had that kid, I think probably they'd be able to beat Chatham. But I see Chatham now as the team to beat.
I do too.
I also saw Holy Trinity as a really good team in that other division, them and Stillwater.
And Chatham dominated time of possession against Holy Trinity. And
That was a tough game. So I see Chatham. Tamarack is the surprise to me.
Tamarack's 2-0.
Yeah. I mean, I just, they had a good quarterback last year and a great big running back. And
they lost a lot.
They lost both of them. I thought they had lost a lot. I mean, I was thinking that, there's a team we could probably, have a good chance to beat. But, I mean, they're 2-0. I mean, I was surprised that they beat Voorheesville.
Right.
Carroll Durham. No, they didn't play Carroll Durham, did they?
No. They played a Quicksaki, and they won that one 34.
Oh, yeah, that's right. The big high-scoring game.
Yep.
Yeah. So Tamarack's legitimate, but I think Chatham, again, by 2 touchdowns there.
I agree.
Yeah.
Moving over our first away game, we have Ichabod at Lansingburg Friday night. Ichabod still scoreless.
Yes.
Their quarterback is completing some passes. He was 10 for 17 last week. Only threw for 30 yards, though. So they definitely have to find a way to move the ball. And Lansingburg's
0-2 themselves, so
right.
they're off to a bit of a
again,
slow start.
somebody's going to be getting their first win.
Absolutely.
Yeah. I mean, I have not seen either team, but going back to Lansingburg and how they used to play, they usually street fight. They have real tough kids.
They do.
They usually have a lot of speed, and Ichabod, I don't think they have the speed to keep up with Lansingburg. I can't really see them winning that game.
Yeah, Lansingburg, the athleticism is really what's going to bother Ichabod Creighton.
I think so. I think they'll be better compatible than the first 2 games that they played Ichabod, but I still don't see them, unfortunately, being able to beat Lansingburg. Yeah.
Then Saturday we have Carroll Durham hosting Mechanicville. Carroll Durham can't catch a break.
They can't catch a break. That's a very tough draw right there. Mechanicville's 2-0.
I don't even want to think about that game. I mean, if Chatham beat them 8-6.
Yeah, Mechanicville is extremely well coached and a lot of talent. Dan Mata, the quarterback, is 266 yards rushing in 2 games, 174 passing. They have a 230-pound fullback in Keegan McHale, and another very good running back in junior Evan Chapman, who has over 200 yards rushing in 2 games.
Just put a big capital U with that game. It is going to be ugly.
Okay.
You said it. I just really hope that Mechanicville has the presence and the coaching that, when it gets out of hand, that they don't
pull the reins a bit.
Right.
I mean, come on.
But, it's another step in the building process for Carroll Durham. I mean, they're undermanned. They have a small roster. They don't have a lot of experience on the team.
Their best player is Jake Hall. Jake Hall, who was the best soccer player last year.
Is he the quarterback?
Yes.
Right.
Yeah.
91 yards, 9 carries last week. A lot of it towards the end, but not a whole bunch of guys coming back. It's tough to build a program, especially in a division like that.
No
where you're
JV.
playing those guys.
They don't have a JV. It's real tough. I mean, they're certainly not getting a break with the schedule. I can tell you that. Wow,
Mechanicville is as good as it gets.
Yeah, so I don't even know what to think about that game. It's going to be. Hopefully, they can come out of it without any injuries and unscathed, and like you say, maybe try to learn something from it.
One thing we know, they'll show up and they'll play hard.
It's going to be tough for them.
For sure.
It'll be real tough. Yeah.
Yeah, so those are all the games this week. Again, anything else for the coach while we have him in here?
I just want to say thanks, Coach.
No, it was really fun.
A legend here.
Hey, I like talking football. You know that. I mean,
you could have fooled me.
But anytime it was great. Great coming in and talking to you guys.
Always.
Yeah, we appreciate it. Again, 4, 5, 6 decades of football under your belt. So
winning football.
It's not easy to get out of your system.
Yeah. Well, thanks again. It was a pleasure.
All right. So that's it for this week's show. We'll see you next week on the HV360 Gridiron Glance.